School District 2 Superintendent Greg Gotham joins us. And Greg, thank you very much for joining us today to provide us with the updated information in the coronavirus impact on School District 2. First of all, you did send out a communique to the parents and actually the general public. What was the gist of that communique today, and what were you trying to get across to people?
Yeah, well, thanks, John. Thanks for having me on. And so my office has been in constant contact with our county health officer, John Felton. So we've been tracking the COVID-19 and its evolution and the dynamics attached to the evolution. We've been having discussions about it. So what information I put out was that, and the overarching component is to try to eliminate the ability for the virus to host and move. And that being said, I have suspended all out-of-state travel for student groups and or student organizations, same with our faculty as far as professional development. The other part, the large part, is we're now suspending and postponing all outside activities that invite the public into closed indoor spaces. So band concerts, music, choir, proms, dances, anything like that that would create an opportunity for people to come closer together, both internally and externally. And the idea behind reducing the amount of outside entities coming into the school is just to reduce the chances for transmission. We're not panicking at all, John. I told our administrators we're not up against a cliff. This is a proactive measure to assist in allowing this virus to just settle itself out and not host itself and move. And so better to do it now before we're in an emergency situation. And those are the two primary areas that we're watching. So again, we've canceled and postponed all internal activities. External, like our spring sports, track, softball, we're going to allow that to occur at this point in time. The interesting part of this is that we're learning as a society as things are changing quite rapidly. Why would we have an outside activity versus an inside activity? Well, the outside, the proximity to people isn't as close as outside. So I'm just saying, check our website for updates. Again, we're not panicking. We're just trying to take the appropriate steps.
Let's talk about the potential and the possibility, because it is out there in the United States right now. There are at least four states that have said we're going to shut down schools. I'm sure that you've had that conversation. Where's the tipping point on that?
Well, in my conversations with our county health officer, and the county health officers are actually doing an excellent job of talking amongst themselves in large communities, smaller communities. But as it sits right now, they will be the ones that guide us in any type of school closure whatsoever. And I want to reiterate, we are not planning to close schools. That's why we're taking the measures that we're taking now, is to reduce the chances of the virus being inside or, multiplying throughout. But in the case of a closure, it would be advised by the county health officer, but that would predominantly mean, and I asked him that question, what would constitute a closure? And he said, a positive test would constitute a closure. Increase in absenteeism attached to specific areas consistent with symptoms of the virus and those types of things. But we're not there right now, but we are positioning ourselves to have those conversations. And I've reached out to our building administrators to prepare for off-site learning in the case that we need to do it. We're just planning ahead.
What does off-site learning look like for School District 2? I'm sure it's quite different than, when you look at the university system. That's not a K through 12 system. And I can see a laundry list of difficulties if you look to go with off-site learning.
I think we're still asking those questions, because when I said that to our administrators last night, they said, Greg, what does that mean? I said, well, we need to figure that out for sure. But what it'll do is we know that all of our families do not have access to internet. We know that we probably can't get one device for each student. So it's going to look different in a lot of areas. But the point that I made with our teachers and our administrators was, it's not going to look like a 7-hour school day. Let's decide on what the essential learnings are and begin to package that information and think about how we can deliver that. I think in our younger elementary schools, it might be just reading and math. In our high schools, it may be students who are trying to complete dual credit courses, college credits, APs, finishing certain things out. So it's going to look different. That work is in progress right now. I would welcome the opportunity in a little while meaning I don't know, to come back and discuss what that looks like. The other question that should be asked too is, what are we going to do with food service? And so, in the larger cities, what we're seeing is they're establishing food that people can drive by and grab, especially for those families that rely on our food for their food. And so we're having those conversations at this point in time now. So a lot of it is the planning stages.
Have you had any kind of situation in your history of working in the school districts that mirrors something that gives you an idea of where this may go, or how to attack this with so many unknowns?
I've never lived through anything like this. I'm not concerned. I have the utmost faith in our health officials. As I shared with our administrators, I said there's two things that I need to share with you as a superintendent. You need to have elasticity in your decision making and your thinking, surrounded by the rationale for why we're making the decisions that we're making. And that simply is, we're trying to minimize the amount of close contact that we can, and trying to reduce and minimize the outside opportunities for the virus to be transmitted. That's a given. From that standpoint, I can't give you certainties. That's the point that as a community we have to understand. We can't give you certainties. We are giving you opportunities and sharing information that helps us reduce, minimize, hopefully eliminate large transmissions if they become possible. So I'm confident in what we're doing. We're doing the right things. It's following best practice with the health officials. The health officials are guiding us in this. And frankly, as a community, we have to pull together. We do not want to close schools because we have parents who provide resources and supports for our community, not to mention that they work and feed their families. But we have a lot of students whose moms and dads are nurses and medical professionals, so we need them in the hospitals. And please help us as a school to minimize your traffic to our schools and so on and so forth. That's where we are.
You're probably getting some accolades and probably quite a few concerned parents questioning your decisions. Are there one or two areas that you would want to address either way?
No, I think it's just a matter of communicating appropriately, and we're open to feedback. If there's areas of communication that could improve, we would want to hear that. If there's ideas that we need to take under consideration, we welcome that. We want to hear that. We just want to be a good conduit of information and have on the forefront of the safety of everyone. I would rather be, John, criticized for being overly cautious and overly safe than the other.
Let me bring up one more, and that is the state basketball tournament that is underway, and we have a lot of students from School District 2 in close proximity in large group gatherings.
We do, and those decisions were happening right when the tournament was scheduled to go forward. And as I've shared with other groups, or another group, the decision to hold the state tournament, those decisions, I believe, and I wasn't a part of those decisions, was made prior to the dominoes that we're seeing now, or the amount of energy around the situation that's occurring now. So those concerns are valid, and it's something that moving forward we're going to have to just work with.
Okay. And the decision about any future announcements regarding any kind of disruption in school will come from you via, what's the best way for people to continue to be updated?
So the communication so far has been my superintendent's newsletter. We've posted on our website. We put a special place on our district website, billingschools.org, for updated information. We will be sending a robocall to all of our parents shortly, just outlining some of the changes, the adjustments that we've made, and then the communication strategies. So the best place to check would be our website. That will be the component that's updated first.